Now, I know we're only 5 weeks into the NFL season, but I'd be lying to you if I say I'm not looking at who will have the number 1 overall pick this year to select maybe the most highly touted prospect in NFL history, Caleb Williams. Now, it's no question why this dude is regarded as the future number 1 overall pick. His arm talent is unlike any player we've ever seen. He's so calm in the pocket. The play is never dead with him. He can throw from any arm angle. He has ridiculous arm strength, ridiculous mobility. I could keep going on and on and on. But it's almost like he sounds like a certain player in the NFL that's absolutely tearing it up right now. It kind of sounds like Patrick Mahomes, doesn't it? That's what every GM, scout, owner sees when they look at Caleb Williams. They see Patrick Mahomes 2.0, and every single team is trying to get a slice of that. Now, right now, there are a handful of teams that I believe will have the first overall pick. The greatest odds are currently the Chicago Bears. Now, they not only have their first round pick, but they also have the Carolina Panthers first round pick, who are currently the worst team in the NFL, 0-5. The Bears themselves are 1-4 and are currently projected to have the 3rd overall pick. The Denver Broncos are another team after their loss on Thursday Night Football who sit at 1-5, currently holding the 2nd overall pick. But I'm not so sure if they end up with the number 1 overall pick that they end up taking Caleb Williams. Obviously, they're paying their quarterback Russell Wilson for the next 5 years, $50 million per year. So we'd have to see the Broncos dump him somewhere. But the thing is, they have so many holes on this team. Taking Caleb Williams wouldn't make a lot of sense. And then the remaining 1-4 teams, the Vikings, Patriots, Giants, and Cardinals. They're all currently projected picks from up to 4 to 7. Now, obviously, there's still 12 weeks left of football to be played, so they could still get shuffled inside the top 3. But I think realistically, all of these teams could be in the market for Caleb Williams. Now, it seems like they have a guy that they're confident with right now, but if they had the chance to take Caleb Williams, it seems like they'd absolutely do it. The Minnesota Vikings, who are at 1-4, Kirk Cousins, I believe, is a borderline top 10 quarterback, and he's been playing phenomenal this year. But the Vikings have showed no signs that they're willing to re-sign him this offseason. So I think all signs point to them potentially drafting a quarterback. And if they end up with Caleb Williams, they won't hesitate on that at all. Now, the New England Patriots, another team that if they have the chance to draft Caleb Williams, they would absolutely pull the trigger. This offense has been one of the worst in the NFL, if not the worst. Now, the problem is they don't have any weapons. This offensive line isn't great, and they have no run game. So bringing in Caleb Williams, you'd undoubtedly have to get him weapons, unlike they've done for Mac Jones the past 3 seasons. Now you have the New York Giants, who are also at 1-4. They just re-signed Daniel Jones to a 4-year, $160 million contract. But it's this question that I bring up to Cowboys fans that I'm also going to bring up to Giants fans. Even though Daniel Jones just got his bag, but is he good enough to win a team a Super Bowl? I don't believe he is. If they had the number 1 overall pick and the opportunity to take Caleb Williams, they have to do it. And then the final 1-4 team, the Arizona Cardinals, have a lot of question marks in their quarterback room. Every other week, there's a different rumor of the Cardinals are committed to Kyler Murray going forward in the future, or the Cardinals are going to try and rest Kyler Murray for this season so that they can get the maximum amount of trade value for him. Josh Dobbs also hasn't been looking bad. Obviously, they're not going to move forward with him after this season, but I think everything's truly up in the air right now. If the Cardinals landed the number 1 overall pick, I guarantee you they take Caleb Williams. They try and trade Kyler Murray for assets, but let's face it, Kyler Murray is coming off a significant ACL tear. He's not a great locker room guy. And if I'm Arizona, he's not the guy that I want as the face of my franchise. And then there's 2 teams who I'm looking at 2-3 who I think could still lose a lot of ball games this year. First, the Las Vegas Raiders. They signed Jimmy G to a 3-year deal this season, but I don't think he's looked great. I think Josh McDaniels is not a great head coach. I think they should clean house, and if they wind up with the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, you are a Las Vegas Raider. And then the other team that I'm looking at who's also 2-3, the Washington Commanders. This team's lost 3 straight games after they started out 2-0. Sam Howell's playing very inconsistent, and I don't think their losses are necessarily his fault. The defense hasn't been able to stop anybody. But like I said, these organizations aren't going to blink if they have the chance to draft Caleb Williams. And I think what's so exciting about the 2024 NFL draft class is that there are a lot of very good quarterbacks who could be drafted within the top 10. A guy that's been popping up a lot in top 5s of mock drafts is Drake May from North Carolina. He's having a huge season. I think he's a Heisman contender. He has great poise, he's accurate, he has a big arm, but he's inconsistent and struggles to read the field at times. But I think he'll absolutely be a top 5 pick in this year's draft. A guy that's also having a very big season for Michigan, JJ McCarthy. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football, and I've been seeing him mocked within the top 10 in a lot of different drafts. And then the wild card who could potentially be in this year's draft is Shedeur Sanders. Now, I don't know 100% if he declares for this year's draft or not, but he's obviously having a huge season at Colorado, and I think the hype that he's getting from not only the media, but potentially from draft scouts could tempt teams to drafting him within the top 15. But personally, I think we'll see him stay another year at Colorado to try and become the number 1 overall pick for next year. And then the final guy who's a really raw prospect that's a borderline first-round quarterback is Riley Leonard out of Duke. He's 6'5", has a big arm, and is super athletic, very mobile. He's more of a project, but I think a lot of scouts like the potential that Leonard holds. But regardless, Caleb Williams will be the number 1 overall pick. I'm not buying any of the stuff that his dad's talking about, saying that he might potentially stay another year at USC if the number 1 overall pick isn't in the right situation for Williams. I completely disagree with that, and I think that'd be very foolish. But right now, it looks like the Chicago Bears will most likely end up with the first overall pick. Like I mentioned, they have the Panthers' first-round pick, who are currently 0-5, and they look like the worst team in football, and they have their own pick, and they just picked up their first win last week. They also look terrible. The biggest question mark here is if the Bears move on from Justin Fields and take Caleb Williams, or do they trade out of the number 1 overall pick, get more draft assets, and bulk this roster that is in need of some significant help. I think that the Bears move on from Justin Fields at the end of this season, and they take Caleb Williams with the first overall pick and Marvin Harrison Jr. with the second overall pick. I'm Caden Kubler, and that's my take.